Hello, VC. It's Aiden here. Hope you're all doing well. It's Saturday afternoon, a little drizzly out and gray. I happen to like that kind of weather. It's peaceful in here. So, I'm doing well. Hope you all are. I'm lucky enough to be able to stay home and not have to go to work. And much to the chagrin of the fiscally conservative in this country, I'm making more collecting unemployment than I would be if I were at work, which I'm content with that situation. Um, at the same time, it's also totally stressful and infuriating seeing the piss poor response in this country to it. I mean, we have people protesting, trying to go back to work. We have politicians still not taking it seriously enough, trying to reopen things, and in Washington, at least, they're being a little bit more rational about it. Stay-at-home order's been extended till the end of May. We'll see if things are ready to go back to normal by then. That's the other thing. I think we have to stop holding on to this notion that things are ever going to be normal after this. I think we need to take this opportunity to transform society, especially in America. I think other parts of the world have a bit better grip on things, but certainly not here. And as I make more on unemployment, I'm frankly hoping that I can save some of those checks and better my life, potentially even by leaving this country, because I've never really felt like I fit in here or dug the political landscape of the United States. Just putting a bit of myself out here, but I'm sure you're here for the music and records. I intend to save unemployment checks, but with the first one, at least I went a bit crazy, so I have some final updates to share. I'm happy to support small businesses and the postal service while things are awry. So playing in the background, I've shared and talked about this before, but this is my friends the Sheen with Trash Hazard, playing it off my phone because I don't have a cassette deck. Yeah, friends in the Sheen. Carm, if you're watching, how's this for the cold shower effect? I mean, this is the first thing I've listened to today, but to my credit, it's early afternoon, not morning, and I've been chilling most of the morning, just taking it easy and listening to the rain more so than music. As for records, a few recent spins first. So I was excited about a lot of the Swedish records that have come in the mail. So I listened to one that I have by the group Zamla, Mammaz, Manna. Fantastic, weird rock and opposition group. They have more of a sense of humor and mischief, I guess, than other bands in the genre like Henry Cower, Universe Zero. Definitely more reminiscent of stuff like Frank Zappa in that regard. Yeah, I love this band. This one is Familjesprickor. Probably butchered that. Oh well. From 1980, I believe. Great record. Next, classic of Japanese psych rock, Flower Travellin band. I actually hadn't listened to this in a long time, and I forgot really how good it is. I mean, the only dull moments really are there's kind of a long extended jam in Satori Part 4, and it's like, I feel like that could have been more interesting, but other than that, oh my god, and check this gatefold. Such a cool gatefold. But yeah, the other parts of the long Satori suite are fantastic. The riff on part 5 especially is super fun to play and to listen to, of course. So Satori, Flower Travellin band, essential Japanese psych. something a little more chill. I hadn't listened to this in quite a while, and despite it being one of those records that you can find pretty much universally for like $1, which is what I paid for this, it's a wonderful record. It's spiritually effective. No new age cheese here. This is the real deal. All horn inside the Taj Mahal. Great record. And last night, I've been listening to a lot of Indian music lately, and besides Ravi Shankar, and I have some of those records coming in the mail. But in the meantime, I decided to move over to Iran and my Persian classical section. I played this record by Daryoush Tala'i, not tar, which is the instrument, and Djamchid Chemirani on the Zar, which is a really cool percussion instrument. Yeah, I love Persian classical music. It's frankly one of my favorites in terms of world music as of late. So cool here. There's information that you can't read. Don't know why I bothered showing you. Great record though. So now we get into the new stuff, the stuff that has just mysteriously appeared on my doorstep over the last couple weeks. In my last video, I talked about the reggae record, Jackie Matu, Macca Fat, and a couple of people responded that I should check out Augustus Pablo, East of the River Nile. And I've heard that record, but didn't own it yet. But now I do own it. And yeah, it's great. It's another one where, like, reggae's reggae and dub really are, for me, as somebody who spent a couple of years obsessed with prog, fairly simple music. But on a lot of these records, frankly, there's still wonderful musicianship. Like, as a listener and as a player, I tend to avoid the conception of like pocket playing, like being in the pocket. Like, let's think outside the pocket a little bit. But even so, like, bass playing and low end on a lot of these records is absolutely inspiring to me. And yeah, great record, East of the River Nile, Augustus Pablo. Definitely an essential reggae record with every bit of hype. This one's a bit of a grail for me, just because I don't think I've ever seen it in the wild. And even looking for it online, it's typically at a price that I can't justify paying for it. But it's one of my favorite folk records and singer-songwriter records. I'm talking about Starsailor, Tim Buckley. This record is amazing to me. His vocals, very Leon Thomas-like sort of yodeling thing he does, and just, not to mention the songwriting on this and how psyched out a lot of it really is. I mean, even as more of a folk and singer-songwriter record, I think this is one that's essential for people who like psychedelic rock to hear, or people that want to hear something with more of a jazz influence to it and more of a improvisatory spirit to it. Absolutely essential. I love this record. Glad to finally have it. A weird one, sort of in line with Zamla, Manna, and Rock in Opposition, from Slovenia, Begnagrad. Like Zamla, Manna, the complexity is there, and the sense of mischief is there, as well as a strong influence of regional folk music. And we've got accordions and mandolins, ocarina on here, even, and of course clarinets and other reed and jazz instruments. It's a really great record. Definitely a more obscure rock and opposition and prog folk kind of record that I really like it and would recommend it. It's on YouTube, so you all can check it out. Begnagrad, self-titled, I think from like the 80s. Hold on. Apologies for that. My phone does this weird thing where it'll tell me the volume you're listening at is too high, even though it doesn't even approach getting too loud, and it'll just randomly drop. And it does it randomly. It's weird. So that's what just happened. It's fixed now. Next record, the first of a few wonderful Swedish rock records that I got in the mail. That was a mini obsession of mine for about a week. In isolation, I've just been checking out a lot of music, and my habit is I'll check it out, and then often I'll buy it. And then by the time it arrives, I'm obsessed with something else. But Pug, Yada Ada, Jada Ada. I don't know. I was always under the impression that the J was pronounced like a Y. Then Joan always pronounces his name like that. So I don't know, I'm just confused with the pronunciations. But I'm not confused with this being an amazing record. I mean, like, again, it's more of a singer-songwriter kind of thing. But this guy goes all out with the vocals and all out with the fuzzed out guitar. And there's a legit freak out on one of these tracks, which is really satisfying to me because it's otherwise one of the softest tracks on the album, and then it just ends with this psychedelic freak out. Fantastic stuff. Definitely one that I would recommend and was completely unknown to me really until I think I saw Joan's show it at some point, and I saw Big Star 1000 show it, which led me to purchasing it. Great record. From 69, I believe, 69 or 70, I can't remember. And then I've gotten really into this collective of groups known as Harvester, International Harvester, which is the one I have right here. This record is fantastic. Definitely an overlooked gem of space rock and prog. It's quite experimental. The B-side in particular really goes into this trancey, drone-ish sort of thing, quite similar to what a lot of the German groups would start doing contemporaneously, but more so a couple years later. I'd say this is maybe slightly ahead of its time. International Harvester, Sauve Gott Rosemary. This one is from 1969. I love the art on here. So I got that. And the other groups associated with that collective are Tradgras, Oxtenar, Later, and then Parson Sound, which this is an archival release of stuff from the late 60s, I think 67 to 69, could be wrong. And this is the best of the lot, really. I mean, this is like, when I heard this, I was like, this is the most psychedelic record I've ever heard. And it might not be that extreme, but for the time it was, and that's the reaction that I had. So I decided to pull the trigger on it, even though it's kind of expensive. I don't care about that. Worth having amazing music to listen to in these trying times. This set is killer, and I can't recommend the music enough. I mean, first of all, I have a soft spot for triple disc 2-hour albums as it is. So for that to be just filled with some of the most ahead of its time, at times quite noisy and experimental psych rock from Sweden, I can't say no to that. Parson sound, wonderful. Another one that's really psychedelic, and another one that I kind of just impulse bought after listening to it once, being like, this is really psychedelic. I really like this. Ariel Kalma, Les Temps de moissons. Moissons. My French is awful. Yeah, this is a guy. It really reminds me a lot of Terry Riley's music in particular. But the guy's a saxophone player who plays. It sounds like through effects, but at the very least, he's looping his saxophone. But yeah, it also sounds like he's running it through delay and maybe some other sorts of effects in places. On the B-side, you've got that associated with like almost a dub kind of beat to it that makes me think of like mid-70s Can or something like that. This is really cool. I really like it. I don't know that I've seen anybody show this, but I think a lot of the people in the VC would dig this one. And this is a reissue on Wawa. I think it originally came out 75. I could be wrong. Let's see. Oh yeah, 75. Yeah, I really like this one. And last, or no, two more. Another one that I heard, it was just like, this is the most psychedelic music ever. And this one, I kind of stand by that statement. Takeshi Kosugi with Catch Wave. Another one from the Japanese scene, 75, I believe. This guy played with Taj Mahal Travelers. And I actually have Julian Cope's book on the subject, Jap Rock Sampler, and there's an extensive chapter on this guy, I remember. And yeah, this record is him running violin through effects on the A side and voice through effects on the B side, and it explains the concept more in the liner notes, but I haven't really gotten that deep into it yet. But just listening to it, like, this is so fucking psychedelic. Like, the way this guy figured out how to like stretch and manipulate the sounds he's making. I mean, having taken mushrooms myself, like it reminds me of a lot of these sort of aural effects that can happen under the effects of psychedelics or while making music on psychedelics. Or just the way you think about time in those states. Yeah, this is fantastic. Again, something that I'd probably lump in with the more psychedelic minimalists like Terry Riley or Lamont Young, as well as people like Tony Conrad. Obviously, the connection's there because he plays violin on the A side. Great record, highly recommended. The last one. Another reissue, another Japanese psych record, Uganda by Akira Ishikawa, Count Buffaloes. This is one I was pretty late to the game on, but I really like it. The percussion element on this is fantastic. Reminds me a lot of that all drums record, Niagara. With the bongos and auxiliary percussion on this record, but it's also got some just great psych and even kind of proggy composition, like Vita, the song that opens the B-side, has this progression that reminds me so much of Soft Machine, and then in the middle of it just an orgy of percussion. Yeah, lots of skronk and fuzz on this one. Great cover. Really dig this stuff. So So I have others to show and more coming, but I'll keep it at that for now. Yeah, I hope you're all doing well, and thanks for tuning in. I keep forgetting to mention this, but I really dig all the comments. Like, if you don't want to like or subscribe, that's fine. But having conversation, that's pretty cool. I enjoy that, and I will put effort into advocating for that, I guess. So take it easy, stay safe, fight the power, etc. See you next time.